Good evening. My name is Lindsay Glassner. I am the outreach coordinator for the K-12 education team here at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. I'm joined tonight by Kelly Schaefer, our education specialist, also with the K-12 education team at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. We are really excited for tonight's webinar and focusing on literacy, trade books, science, and how you can all use that around birds as the teaching tool. So for tonight's webinar, we really are focusing more for that kindergarten through third grade age group. We have about 3 different trade books to show you guys, but we do have quite a few more on our website. And we'll highlight just a couple really fun, our favorite activities really, from those 3 trade books tonight, guide you through them, and then answer any questions you may have. Along the way, we will be testing some of your knowledge using in our chat window. So for those of you guys who haven't participated in our webinars before, we're using the Zoom platform. We do like to have some interactive webinars. So if you can, open up that chat window and make sure the "to" says to all panelists and attendees. We found that over the years we've done webinars that we can provide you advice, but the advice that you can get from your fellow educators is just as valuable. So we really want to make sure that any ideas, suggestions, adaptations that you put in the chat window, everybody can see. So making sure it says to all attendees is really valuable. Let's test out that function then. So if you can, open up the chat window, let us know who you are, where you're from, and what type of educator you are. Okay, elementary education from Duluth, Minnesota. Beaver Dam, Wisconsin. UW Superior student. Oh, yay. We've had quite a few UW Superior students. I myself am a graduating Stevens Point student. I'll graduate this December with my master's. And Kelly graduated, what, 3 years ago now, Kelly, with your master's from Stevens Point?
It was 3 years ago.
Scary. So it's nice to see University of Wisconsin represented. Let's see, Texas. Welcome from down south. Del, nice to see you. A science specialist in Minnesota. North Carolina. Also a UW Superior student. Minnesota. Ooh, Tiffany, that sounds like an awesome program at Arboretum. Another Texas. We have quite a few different service, I guess I'd call you guys pre-service elementary education teachers, or maybe you're already teachers just getting extra degrees or something. Kindergarten music educator, still teaching in California. Isn't it wonderful, teachers? You retire, yet you can't stop teaching. I feel like that's gonna be us, Kelly. We'll retire to be master naturalists or volunteers or something and still share the love of education.
Sounds good.
Welcome everyone tonight. For those of you who aren't familiar, we are the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. Yes, we are associated with Cornell University, the Ivy League. We are based in Ithaca, New York, and the lab itself is, though associated with Cornell University, actually a nonprofit membership-driven institution. And our mission is to interpret and conserve the Earth's biological diversity through research, education, and citizen science focused on birds. We really need to get a winter picture of this building because that's how it looks right now. We have
snowing.
Yeah, we have a dusting of snow and actually quite a bit of ice, unfortunately. Yeah. But still, we're somewhere in this building hidden. And Kelly and I are with the K-12 education team here at the lab. So we take all the knowledge and research that happens and we develop resources and professional development opportunities that are designed to build science skills while inspiring young people to connect to local habitats, explore biodiversity, and engage in citizen science projects. So ultimately, we have the pleasure of writing curriculum and teaching educators, but we don't get to work with kids that often. However, that's been solved quite a bit with past experience and with a lot of support from educators like yourself. So as I talked about in tonight's webinar, we are going to be talking about the language arts and how we can relate ELA standards to science standards, specifically using birds and birdie trade books as a teaching tool. And we'll provide some additional outdoor learning opportunities at the end of the webinar along with some discussion time. Feel free, any ideas, comments, suggestions, adaptations you have, recommended books that you would like to share with, put that in the chat window as we progress through the webinar. We always find that quite helpful. So let's just break down the ELA standards, English Language Arts. This is through the Common Core Standards, and basically they are performance expectations. They are not a curriculum. They recognize both content and skills are important, and they do build up from kindergarten all the way through high school that are focusing on designing, or sorry, to the words tonight. They're focused on preparing students for college careers and citizenship. Now, what I want to focus on when I was reading and really diving into these ELA standards and focus on trying to relate them to the next generation science standards, the NGSS standards, I came across this section from the Common Core State Standards ELA webpage. And the part in orange is what I really want to draw your attention to. Students need the ability to gather, comprehend, evaluate, synthesize, and report on information and ideas, to conduct original research in order to answer questions or solve problems. And if you just take that chunk and not even understand where it was coming from the ELA webpage, to me, when I read this, I think of science. The brainchild, the model that we really want to emphasize with the science process is kids comprehending information, being critical thinkers, being able to take information that they've either collected themselves or they've gathered, to synthesize it and report on that, to conduct original research, to answer questions or solve problems. Many of these words are found within the next generation science standards. And so inherently, especially for elementary educators, you may be in a position where you don't necessarily have the time to teach science or small amounts of time to teach science. But what we would love to reinforce is that by needing ELA standards, you can use science content to teach ELA that you are emphasizing on. So really, the ELA Common Core mentality is quite aligned with teaching science. And that ultimately brings in the picture of birds. We are the Cornell Lab of Ornithology, therefore we are incredibly biased that birds are the best teaching tool there is in education. But there must be a reason why you were drawn into this webinar. Whether you're a UW Superior student, I know that part of this is a requirement for one of your classes. However, I really do want to open up the discussion to you guys of why use birds as a teaching tool. So if you could share your thoughts in the chat window of why you're interested in incorporating birds into your educational setting, I'd love to hear from you. And while I imagine you guys are frantically typing away in the chat window, Kelly and I are enjoying these lovely birds here. Kimberly's talking about, I love how diverse they are. That's what drew you to studying them. Excellent. Regardless of students' background or place of residence, they will see birds. Absolutely. Sometimes it takes a little bit of effort from our educator standpoint to take off what we call bird blinders, but birds are around everybody. Exactly. They're wherever you go, no matter where you are in the world, you can find birds to study or observe. So a lot of people here are emphasizing the accessibility of birds, that they really can find them in a diverse set of locations, but also how the diversity is captivating. That's a great word, Louise. They really are captivating. And that captivation can be, first, for many elementary age kids, the concept that most birds can fly. That right there, the concept of flight really is a great intrigue for many kids. Looking at an image like this, the first thing I notice is just the color array that we can see, the vibrancy that many birds have, even common birds that we may find in our backyard, not just exotic flamingos or honey creepers, or I'm trying to pull off some of these random names here. It's not a toucan, it's Arisari, yes. I knew that, I just couldn't get there. Or a peacock. You might not find a peacock in your backyard, but you certainly could find a Baltimore oriole or Blackburnian warbler. Yes. My bird knowledge at 8 p.m. at night.
American robin.
Or an American robin. I mean, for many of us who could be birders, it could just be it's another American robin for kids. Oh my gosh, it's an American robin. Look how gorgeous that coloration is. And that's what really is stunning to me. And then we take the color aside, and I love this, Marilyn. You just brought up nesting, migration, feeding habits. Feeding caught up into my mind because for elementary educators, one of the things we commonly talk about is beaks, and looking at the adaptation that birds have and developed with feeding. And the diversity of beaks you can see on here, it's marvelous. And not just that, but then you get into habitat and so forth. They really are an excellent hook for learning. So why birds? There's a diverse number of reasons why. Oh, look at the blue jay. I just noticed the blue jay there too. Anyways, so really birds are a wonderful teaching tool, and they really are accessible. So what we like to do with a lot of our trade books or our reading books that you might have is to use that as a tool not only to help reinforce the English language arts, but also start to open the world of birds, open the world of nature to kids. So for those of you who haven't been to our website really or never before, we have a brand new website. I'm going to show that to you real quick. I do have screen sharing capability with the Zoom platform. So here's our browser. The URL is birds.cornell.edu/K12. And you'll see we have, about us, lessons and activities, professional development, grants and giveaways. No, we don't have a grant open at this moment. Stories from the field, which are stories from many other educators like yourself. But I want to focus on this lessons and activities. And just clicking on that, you can see we've broken up our lessons and activities by age groups. So K2, 3, 5, 6, 8, and 9, 12. I want to peruse just the K2 real quick. All the grade levels will have up to 4 categories, traditionally 3 for the upper age groups, but 4 for the younger. And those will be curriculum units. Those are comprehensive paid curriculum. We offer a lot of free downloads. We have supplemental items like posters, cards, etc. But then we also offer free book activities, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So when you go to the free book activities, you can see we have quite a lot of books available that have activities associated with them. And this is just for K2 here. We do have more in the 3-5 as well. Some of these are more K through 5 or maybe 1 through 3 or 2 through 5, what have you. But many of these are accessible to you. Some of the books you'll see, like White Owl, Barn Owl, or On Meadowview Street, you may already have in your library. Other books are actually brand new publications within the last couple years by the Cornell Lab Publishing Group. We are working with some amazing authors and ornithologists here at the lab to develop these books for libraries, school libraries, public libraries to house and to encourage kids to engage with birds. So not only have these books been published, but then we have also developed complete activity guides. You can download the guides for free. If you don't already own the book, we do have a link where you can purchase them. But you'll see on the webpage, it will list what grades are associated with the book, how many pages of activities you'll have there. Download the guide button right there, and then all these supplemental resources such as videos, images, anything that you might need to support your guide can be found on this webpage as well. So that's just a quick overview of what the website would look like based on different books that you choose. This first book that we just perused real quick is On Bird Hill, and it's by Jane Yolen, who is a marvelous author if you haven't read any of her books before. And we're going to dive into this book first. This will be our first of 3 books tonight. As you may have seen on the website, this book is catered more towards kindergarten through 2nd grade. And here's the front cover of what this activity book guide looks like. You'll see the cover of the book, the author, the title, a quick blurb about it, and then how to properly use this guide. And the big emphasis we want to talk about is the standards that we have aligned all of our activities to. As we talked about, our emphasis really is connecting the English language arts with science. So no surprise here, the first 2 standards that we have listed are the Next Generation Science Standards and the English Language Arts Common Core State Standards. Along those, we also have mathematics standards through the Common Core, as well as the National Core Art Standards. With such a young age, arts really are important, and you'll see some of the activities we do here. We have embedded the arts into it while also teaching science as well as other activities, and that's what this front page gives you a nice capture of, is those standards all completely outlined. And then each activity will have a science or math or an art or an ELA next to it, so it'll show you which of the standards we're addressing in those activities. Let's give you a brief overview for this book, On Bird Hill by Jane Yolen. It's really focused of a young child who goes onto Bird Hill and actually finds a nesting bird with an egg. I'm going to read you this little caption. And on that twig I saw a nest, and in that nest a bird at rest. Beneath that bird there was an egg, a little chick, all beak, wing, leg. And as you can imagine, with this kindergarten through 2nd grade, this could be the first time that they're really focusing on becoming aware of birds or learning more about birds. We would hope that by this age group that they have an idea of what a bird is, but they may not know a lot of facts about birds, let alone nesting birds or nesting animals. So one of the first activities we love to do with the kids is a nesting birds fact or fiction, or true or false, that we like to call this. And I love setting this activity up, especially if we have a group of rambunctious or energy-filled kids. If you have an outdoor space or gymnasium, you can have a true side and a false side. And with young kids, sometimes they may be indecisive, so letting them choose maybe a middle side where they're unsure, but allowing them to run back and forth. When we read the statement, they then have to decide, is this true, false? Maybe they're unsure and they stay in the middle, but to get them up and active while we talk about these educational statements. So we're going to test your bird knowledge. I know we have a few master naturalists here. We have some aspiring birders, but there may be some novice birders in here too. Hopefully some of you may learn a couple things, but we're going to very in a fun manner go through these statements. So we'll start with the first statement. All birds build nests. Is that true or false? And you can type in your answer in the chat window, true or false. And if you're not sure, feel free to put a U for unsure. All birds build nests, true or false? A lot of responses coming in saying false. Yay! Kelly's giving you jazz hands right now. You got this right. This is in fact false. Now, if I was with a group of kids doing this, you know, before I give off the answer, I'd ask the true kids or the false kids. Usually it's easier for somebody who's on the false side to provide a statement that they could prove this statement is false. So can any of you guys provide an example of a bird that doesn't build a nest? And Brittany, you're ahead of the game. I love it. Now, emperor penguins, they're probably the most common example of the egg right on their feet, waddling around with it. But Kelly, I'm going to test your bird knowledge. Do all penguins not build nests? And I want to say no.
No, they do. Some do. So like gentoo penguins will build little rock circles.
So scrapes, kind of.
Well, no, they build them up with rocks.
Oh, okay.
And the exchanging of the rocks is part of the pair bond. And yeah.
Oh, is that what that movie, there was a movie with them trying to get a rock. I don't know. That's a kid's movie. We're going down the line there. So Brady, yes, one example, penguins. That's a very common idea. So it's really nice to think about, well, do all penguins? I didn't know about that. And puffins are not a penguin, correct? Puffins are puffins.
Puffins are puffins.
Yeah, which they burrow.
They do.
Okay, I'm testing my knowledge here too. Which
do
you count burrowing as nesting? That's always the question.
Too.
Okay, I see another response in here from Louise. Cowbirds and other nesting parasites. Yes. And Adele's complimenting you too. So cowbirds are a really great example. For those of you who aren't familiar with them, they're brown-headed cowbirds here in the United States. And what they are is they are brood parasites or nest parasites. And the female will actually lay her egg in another bird's nest and will immediately fly away and do nothing else. It's the responsibility of the nest owner, which could be any kind of warblers or wood thrushes or really a lot of different susceptible birds, to then raise that young. And they don't know the difference. Oftentimes, the brown-headed cowbird nestling will hatch first and can kick out the egg or even kick out the young nestling. It will eat a lot more food, go bigger and faster. So they really are a parasite. Cuckoos are very similar to that as well. So a nice little fun fact about the birds here. What? Old world cuckoos. My ornithologist fact checker over here. Statement 2, some birds give birth to live babies rather than eggs. Fact or fiction? Some birds give birth to live babies rather than eggs. True, false, fact or fiction? Okay, I'm seeing mostly false. I'm seeing one fact. Okay, we'll do the same thing again. For some birds give birth to live babies rather than eggs. Can anybody think of an example where it is true? Going once, going twice, going thrice. This is false or fiction. Birds, one of their characteristics is that they do lay eggs. They do not give live birth. So this is in fact false. I don't know any fun facts about this one.
Well, that's one of the defining features of birds is that they all lay hard-shelled eggs.
Hard-shelled eggs. I like the hard-shelled instead of reptiles.
Yes. Yep.
Excellent. 3, eggs and chicks are not always safe in their nest. Fact or fiction, true or false? They are not always safe in their nest. Ooh, quite a bit of true. Excellent. This statement is true. Eggs and chicks are not always safe in their nest. What are some potential predators that eggs and chicks, or threats, I should say, they may encounter in their nest? Snakes. It's so fascinating. The Tuesday webinar, it took a while for people to mention snakes. Everybody is mentioning snakes in this one. Yeah, wolves, maybe. I've never heard about that before, but any birds that nest on the ground.
Everything's opportunistic.
Totally. Chipmunks, for those of you who haven't heard, chipmunks, they do in fact eat young babies and eggs and whatnot. Gulls, crows, corvids, other birds, fire ants, deer. Trying to think of other things. Oh, disease. People, yes, Karen, absolutely. People as well. And people can definitely be a threat to their nest, not necessarily taking eggs out or necessarily harming the chicks or the eggs, but even if you regularly visit a nest without proper precautions, you can actually draw predators to the nest as well and cause them harm that way. Cats, absolutely, Del. Keep your cats indoors. Oh, no, don't give away that answer. Okay. Most baby birds are fed seeds and berries by their parents. Fact or fiction? True or false? Yes, indeed. This is false. This is fiction. If birds are not fed seeds and berries, what do they need to grow up big and strong? Insects, worms, protein. Many of us think of insects because we frequently think of songbirds. However, you also have to think of raptors. They're definitely going to eat their source of protein, and well, though some raptors may eat insects, many of our larger raptors are not. They're going to eat those predatory snakes or squid or fish. But protein is definitely big. You talk about some birds like pigeons. They'll have crop milk, which is a high protein type milk that they produce. The only bird that we are aware of in North America, Kelly and I are aware of in North America, that is a strict vegetarian is the American goldfinch. They do not feed their young insects. They solely feed their young seeds, oftentimes regurgitated seeds, but that is their strict diet. The only time they're going to be eating an insect is if it by chance flies in their mouth as they were flying by. It's not intentional. Okay, our next statement. Birds can breathe inside their eggs before they hatch. True or false? Yay, this is in fact true. Not only are eggs porous, so there can be gas exchange, but there's also an air sac within the egg, so they can breathe inside their egg before they hatch. Okay, number 6, only the female or mother bird sits on the eggs. Fact or fiction? True or false? This webinar full of women, everybody is saying false, thank goodness. Yes, this is false. And what it is this statement is really dependent on the species of birds. We talk about penguins again, Kimberly, and there is definitely that pair off between the male and female, the mother and father, so to say. There are species of birds where it is only the female that is nurturing for the young. One example that comes to my mind is the red-winged blackbird. This is a bird that you'll commonly hear the male perched up on tall marsh weeds and kind of going conkery, conkery. Bad impression, I'm sorry.
I wish you could have seen her do the wings.
But the male will actually defend a territory and try and attract as many females as possible and mate with all those females to nest in his territory. And in doing so, that's his responsibility, to protect his territory and mate with as many as possible. And it's up to the females then to just sit on the eggs. So that's really a species that is focused on just the female and the eggs. However, there are many different birds that both the female and the male are in charge of nurturing and caring for the young. A really common example that many schools or nature centers have are bluebirds. And because of that, that's a great opportunity for both kids and adults and whoever to see both the male and female going to the nest box of the bluebirds, and both the male and female taking care of the young. And what's nice is that bluebirds, depending on no matter where you are in the country, there is sexual dimorphism. The male and female do look separate, so kids can visually see the difference between the mother bird and the father bird going to take care of the young. So our next statement: most birds live in their nest year-round. Fact or fiction? True or false? Yes, this is false. For nests, really, nests are only used for the nesting season. It's a concept that many kids have that for birds, they see the nest as a home, as their shelter, and just like they live in their home year-round, they may expect for birds to live in their nest year-round, but that's not the case. They're only going to use it for nesting purposes. You might often see in the wintertime owls or roosting in nest boxes, but that's just for shelter purposes. That's not actually where they live year-round. And Kelly brought a good point up to this during the last webinar too, that if the bird in fact did live in their nest year-round, that would actually be a huge threat for them.
Yeah, so anytime that you're so predictable to be in the same place over and over again, it's risky for you because it becomes easier for predators to find you. And that's one of the reasons that the nesting period is so risky for adult birds, because they're predictably in the same spot over and over again, gives predators more opportunity to find them and their nestlings.
And that goes back to our point made earlier that if you are in fact monitoring a nest, you have to be very careful about how frequent you visit the nest and ensuring that you're not scaring off parents, but also that you're not attracting attention to the nest. One of our citizen science projects, Nest Watch, that actually just released a really great free curriculum that we have available is, though that's more for 5th through 8th grade. But one of the Nest Watch citizen science projects, they actually do an online training to help educate you on how to properly monitor nests so you do not attract predators to it. Okay, our final statement. If you find a baby bird, you should try to feed it bread and milk. True or false? Excellent. Resounding false. Please do not. Kelly's going to find a wonderful graphic on the website because I love this graphic. But we have all said that this is false. You shouldn't try and feed a baby bird bread and milk. But it's good to know what you should do if you find a baby bird. So Kelly's going to share this graphic with us in the chat window so you all can see it. And I'll pull it up on the screen here too. But if you find a baby songbird out of the nest, first thing ask, is it visibly injured or did a cat get to it? If it did, contact a licensed wildlife rehabilitator. Rehabilitators know how to handle the situation. If it's not injured, it's best to sort out what the bird looks like. Is it a hatchling or a nestling? Meaning usually its eyes are still closed. It's really not ready to take flight yet. There may be a few feathers, but it's really not ready to be outside the nest. And that could be a hatchling or a nestling. If you can see the nest, return the bird to its nest. But don't worry, this is one of the biggest wives' tales, myths, whatever you call it. I believe this when I was growing up and found a bird's nest, but the parents will not smell you on the young if you touch the baby. So it falls out of the nest, you can put it back in, the parents will still go and take care of the young. However, if you don't see the nest, you can make a nest from a basket or dried grass and put it back up in the tree where you think it was found, and that way the parents can come take care of it again. Or you can also just call a wildlife rehabilitator if you're really not sure. The next option, and this is what most people will find, is that they have a fledgling. This is a bird that is learning to fly. It has some feathers. It's hopping around awkwardly. It's very alert and awake. Now, this is, as Kelly's talking about, the awkward teenage phase, which I think is a fairly accurate description. Truly, the bird is learning how to fly. The parents are nearby and watching it. So really, if it is not in immediate danger, leave it alone. Don't touch it. If it is in immediate danger, just simply move it to a safer spot. And finally, if you seem to have found something that has sharp teeth and a large claw on the second toe, run, basically, or back away slowly, but ultimately just get out of the situation because you have a dromaeosaur. So what we do is we really like this comic, and Bird and Moon comics do have quite a few different ones, especially around learning bird songs, both Eastern and Western. So feel free to check out their website at some point. Okay, so what we just went through are some nesting bird fact or fictions. And again, this is one of the great activities that are part of the book On Bird Hill, where kids are introduced to a young bird in the nest on Bird Hill. Some of the other activities that we have associated with this book are still around nesting. Here's one you'll see. This is exactly what it looks like within the bird guide. This is activity 6 called Build a Nest, and you'll see that it meets art and science standards. And we encourage kids to think more about the bird nest, reflect on what they've learned about and seen on Bird Hill and the knowledge that they may have as well around bird nests, and then create their own. Using natural materials such as sticks, grass, leaves, pine cones, or even looking at things like popsicle sticks, pipe cleaners, string. Having kids connect with nature and also think like a bird to build their own bird nest. Now, what I love about this activity, I've done this from little ones all the way to adults, and everybody loves it. But what's great is you actually can test the stability of the nest. How secure is it? Will it be able to hold baby eggs? So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll just get a few egg-shaped pebbles and put them in the nest, and maybe then blow the nest or give it a little wiggle and see, does it actually hold the eggs? Is the nest a secure nest? So this is just a wonderful activity to bring in a little bit of engineering, a little bit of creativity, but incorporate the arts as well. I love this. When we did this as an activity in the Amazon rainforest of Peru, we took a group of teachers down there and we worked with some of the kids in that community, and they were really engaged with the art aspects. They took a lot of the mud and some of the natural flowers and really tried to make a beautiful nest that the birds would actually be attracted to as well. So you can really emphasize that too if the kids want to go there. The final activity I want to emphasize with On Bird Hill is called exploration. And I think the picture here of that girl's smile just says 1,000 words of how fun it is to crack open some eggs. Now, with many young kids, if they ever have experience with eggs or cooking, you don't necessarily want to encourage them to get messy, but that's what this activity is all about, to develop the observational skills, really looking at the hard eggshell, and then can they see any type of textures there? What's the shape? How would you describe it? But then cracking open the egg and digging their hands through it and looking at the yolk, looking at the membranes, the air sacs, what can they identify? And go from there. So they get to actually just have a little bit of fun with real eggs. Another activity that's in this, I just realized, is actually creating a bouncy egg too. So putting the egg in vinegar, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, vinegar, and that actually creates a bouncy egg. So there's a lot of really great activities with this On Bird Hill book. And again, this is focused more for kindergarten through 2nd grade. The next book I want to introduce you guys to is A Perfect Day for an Albatross by Karen LaBelle-Fry. And this is a book that's focused on 1st through 3rd. And it's all about the story of a Laysan albatross called Miley. And I'll read this passage for you here. I wake before the sun is up. I feel the warm egg beneath me. My neighbors sit on their eggs, sometimes quiet, sometimes clapping their beaks in warning at anyone who comes too close. I'm Miley, a Laysan albatross, and I've come to this coral and sand island called Midway, where I hatched many years ago. The air is warm and still. The albatrosses around me are preening or dozing or just sitting still. The sun is now rising up above the horizon. It is a new day. So it follows this day in the life of an albatross. And what's marvelous about this book is not only the artwork, I'm obsessed with the artwork, but also the fact that it pairs wonderfully with a bird cam that we have here at the Cornell Lab. And that bird cam is of Laysan albatrosses on an island in the Hawaiian Shoals. And that allows the kids to not only learn about and read the story of these albatrosses and a day in their life, but also see it in action too. So one of the emphasis of this is talking about the dancing, their mating displays, bowing deeply and inviting each other to dance, bobbing and circling slowly, dipping their heads and bouncing on the tips of their toes. And you can see the visual display that we have in the artwork. And we really encourage kids to, again, bring in the arts and what we like to call dance like a tross. So we created a video that puts together all these mating dance moves, and kids can follow along or create their own dance that's inspired by these albatrosses. So we'll show you what this video looks like. Make sure that y'all can hear it. Is it playing? There we go. Nope, give me one moment. One moment. Share computer sound. Okay, let's try. So with this, we won't go through the whole video, but I want you just to see the movement that these birds have, the bobbing of the head, the stretching of their neck, the smelling of the armpit, which is technically their head under their wing, but looking at the beat they have, how they go all the way to the tips of their toes, it's wonderful. Such fascinating birds. But this is a great way to incorporate the arts, again, getting kids active. So that's just a short glimpse of what that video is. Again, it's on the supplemental website. But the Perfect Day of an Albatross is really wonderful to, I love this particular activity, to talk about how to dance like an albatross and bring in that connection there. Now the final book I want to highlight for you guys is On Duck Pond. It's another book by Jane Yolen. And this one is focused on what happened when a child was outside and there was a peaceful pond, and all of a sudden, all this flock of ducks and waterfowl just came and flew into the pond, and the chaos that followed it, or the ruckus that followed it. Now, throughout this, On Duck Pond actually has a guide in the book identifying the birds that are displayed here. So it brings in a little bit of bird identification. And One of those keys is actually having kids compare the drawings of the birds with real life images of these birds. And to make things a little more difficult and interesting for this webinar, we've decided that we wanted to give you guys a little bird test. And we'll see if our poll is up and running for us. I don't think it wants to work for us today. That's okay. What we'll use is we'll use the chat window. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you a mystery match. This is what one of your mystery matches will look like. You'll have a male duck of sorts on the top picture, and we want you guys to choose A, B, or C. But instead of just saying A, B, or C, I want you to justify why you think, who you think is the proper match. So of this bird 1, do you think A, B, or C is the female companion, and why? So the why is the trick part. That's what I want to get people to. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying A is the companion bird. And they're pointing to this bill of the bird. Now, the term that I had come up with is squashy. It's a very squashy bill, and by that I mean it seems very flat and robust in some ways. Compressed? I say it's compressed.
I'm trying to remember, is it laterally compressed or is it dorsal? I guess it'd be.
So many people, we're all in agreement that this is A. A is the associated match here. However, and some people have already identified that this is in fact a mallard. You know this because you've seen them before. And many people have not only talked about the bill, but they talked about the body shape. And a really good point here is the blue on the wing bar. So our male has shown slightly smaller here, but a blue patch, and you'll see white surrounding on both sides. Our female has that too. We have the blue and white on both sides. As mentioned, the bill is quite similar. We can compare that to B, which seems to be a lot more long and slender. And C, though a similar looking bill, it does not have the same head shape. This seems to be a bit, I don't know how to describe duck head shapes now that I think about it.
Round, flat.
Round, flat.
Which one are we?
This C, it seems to slope more, I guess I would describe it. And it's missing that blue that we know for the mallards. So who's the mate? This is A. Number 2. Who's the mate of number 2, and justify why you say it is? Maybe you could put it in a little more eloquent words than I can tonight. Okay, so I'm seeing both A and C here. More C's, it seems. And Kimberly, actually the point that you had made with A is not a bad point by any means. So as Luis has already identified, this is a wood duck, our male wood duck here, and he has some gorgeous colorations. Probably one of my favorite bird colorations we have. And we have, where is my mouse? Let's do this. Spotlight, okay. No, spotlight. So we have our mallard here, and we have some gorgeous colorations. And as Kimberly first pointed out, we talk about this white patch here, which also looks very similar to this white patch here. Now this is the trick with many ducks that we have, is traditionally the male is going to be a lot more extravagantly colored than the female. And actually this is a trick for those who don't know your duck IDs. This is in fact another male here. We'll see him a little later too. He actually has some beautiful coloration in green here. This white, though, a nice coloration and match here, is not in fact our bird. You can look at the bill, and the bills just don't quite look the same. And the head shape is also not matching. Our wood duck has a nice flat top that arches down below, whereas this is far more rounded. Now that leads to C that many people are talking about. They do have both the long, the slender hooked bill here, the flat top, the drop down, and actually what's very distinctive that this is a female wood duck is this white eye patch. That's very characteristic female wood duck. They have the same hairdo. Thank you for pointing that out, Kelly. I like that, Brittany. They do have the same hairdo. So is this number 3? There we go. Yeah, number 3. Who's the mate of number 3 and why? Adele, I love the logic. A and B have both been used, so by a process of elimination, we're left with C. So can we look at C and figure out what form of similarities they have? And the puff head, that's also wonderful. Yes, they both have this awesome hairdo going on. Similar to a bee, though B, our female wood duck, is very flat on the top. And then we've talked about A, this is our female mallard, if you recall, our nice blue surrounded by the white here. And then the bill lengths. This is significantly longer than our wood ducks. And you can see that both of them have a beautiful long bill length. Anybody know who this is? Out of just curiosity? Kelly, don't give away the answer.
Sorry, I'm excited.
Not a bufflehead, though a very good guess, a really good guess.
Thanks.
I commonly mistake this for a bufflehead when I glance. This is in fact a hooded merganser. And actually, we have both hooded mergansers and buffleheads at my parents' lake house. And my father is obsessed with buffleheads, and he'll go out there and be like, oh, the buffleheads are out. And I have to disappoint him then, in fact, that they are hooded mergansers and not buffleheads. But yes, this is a hooded merganser, clearly named after this beautiful hood that this male has. Okay. Where are they common in the United States? I don't know where they migrate to, but I know we get them in the winter.
Yeah, so I've seen them up and down the East Coast.
Let's pull up All About Birds. Quick detour, everybody. We are browsing All About Birds. In case you are not familiar with this, this is the Cornell Lab's online field guide. So what I'm doing, pressing the search button, I'm going to type in hooded merganser, click on that, and voila, we have a whole online field guide for hooded mergansers. And look at that hood.
Oh, I love that picture.
And that's a great view of the similarities in bills too. So we'll look at the maps here. And this will show us where they are found in the breeding, migrating, and non-breeding and year-round. So they're actually fairly common throughout the United States besides the southern region and only migrating in this Midwest northern area. I did not know this map. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Okay. We are on to 4 out of 5. We had our tricky male before. Now he's the center of attention. So based off of this image, who do you think is his mate and why? Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of bees, and we're talking about head shape here. And see if anybody's picked up, there we go, the green patch on the wing. And that green patch is very distinctive of what type of bird this is, a green-winged teal. There you go.
Yeah, so with ducks, the speculum or that patch of color on the wings is often very distinctive. You can see it on the female green-winged teal. And on the female mallard A, you can see there's kind of a purplish blue banded by white on either side. And if you spend a little time learning those speculums, they can be really helpful in bird ID for ducks.
Yeah, which I'm still learning my ducks. Oh my goodness, they are hard, especially the females. Oh yeah, too. Okay, our final one, the green-winged teal, goodbye. Get our final bird in. Nope, I went one too quickly. There we go. Who's this guy's mate? We may have a process of elimination now since we've seen several of the females, but we'll skip the process of elimination and provide me the justification of why it is A, besides process of elimination. Yeah, head shape and similar bill. Head shape and bill seem to be some of the greatest ones we're talking about here. So what I love about these bills too is not only are they similar size and shape, but they both have this nice little darkened end here.
Beautiful silvery blue beaks.
Yeah. Yeah, that triangular bill. Excellent. And does anybody have a clue who this might be? I struggle identifying this one quite a lot. And that's not focused, we're not focused on the ID here. It's just in case anybody wants to brag about their bird ID knowledge. Adele, that is correct. This is a widgeon. You can either get European or American, and this is American. So we're gonna breeze through our poll slides, which we just went through all these anyways. Excellent. Now I want to just quickly highlight, we've gone through 3 books that we positively love from our Cornell Lab publishing group. And that was the On Bird Hill, where we talked about nesting birds, A Perfect Day in Albatross, bringing in some dancing bird movements, and then looking at behavior of those bird movements too. And then on Duck Pond, we did a little bit of observational skills, comparing and contrasting males and females. Now, there are many different books, as I showed you, that we have available for kindergarten through 5th grade. This was just a sample of what is available. But anytime that you are trying to incorporate science in the classroom or writing, feel free to incorporate birds. These are just simple activities done by educators to bring in some art and writing with birds. So these groups of kids actually created their own birds. I love this baseball bird up here on the top right too. Not only did Haven, maybe that's what that name is, the 8-year-old, design a baseball bird, but identified, where the bird lives in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it eats hot dogs and cheeseburgers, I think that might be, and it's in honor of Jackie Robinson. This idea allows kids to explore their creativity while also incorporating some art and writing. And then we also have nature journaling too. Anytime you have the opportunity, encourage kids to journal with nature. There did seem to be quite a few environmental educators or master naturalists. Anytime you take kids outside, give them or have them bring a journal, a pencil, a piece of paper, something, even if it could be cameras or ways for them to document their experience they can reflect on afterwards. Nature journaling is really a marvelous tool. So with that, have fun exploring with your kids, and just know that anything you do connecting them to nature can lead to investigations. This is a kindergarten through 4th grade class here, a club actually based in Hamilton, Michigan, where they were incorporating birds in their teaching, and it led to kids doing their own experiment, testing homemade versus store-bought suet. And this is just one example of many where even littlest of kids, as soon as you connect them to birds, their minds really do explore in the world of science. So with that, we will take any questions you may have. Our contact information is listed here. For those of you who would like a letter of completion, feel free to email us, k12lab@cornell.edu, and Kelly will type that email in the chat window too. Just send us an email letting us know that you would like a letter of completion, and we will get that to you tomorrow. Feel free to also get social with us on social media. We're constantly posting out new things through Twitter and Facebook. But again, the website that we have is where all of our resources listed, but feel free to always email us if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that. So we'll take any questions you guys have in the remaining couple minutes. In the remaining 0 seconds that we have. Kelly and I are still going to hang out for a few minutes in case you do have any questions. But if anything pops up later in time, feel free to email us then too. Thank you. And new books are coming out. I'm super excited for the newest book coming out, Crow Not Crow, which is going to be more towards the kindergarten through 3rd grade age group as well. But it's all around bird identification. I'm super excited about that one.
The book's already out.
Oh, the book is out, but our activity guide is not out yet. Expect that early next year. So we do have a lot of fun things in store. And our webinar next month is going to be all around dissecting owl pellets. So feel free to join us then too. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. I'm going to mute myself. I'll hang around for just a couple more minutes in case there are any lingering questions. But thank you for joining us and have a wonderful evening. Oh, the title again of the new book is Crow Not Crow.